Hello again, everybody, and welcome to This Week in Rangers Nation. I'm your host, Sean Furfaro. We've got a jam-packed episode for you this week, including a special interview with Rangers GM Mike McKenzie. So let's get right to the Friday night highlights. Friday night, the Erie Otters were at the odd. The Otters would get on the board first, 9 minutes and 27 seconds into the first. Callum Hughes, well, I don't know how it went in, but it just went in. In the second period, Hayden Ellis picks up his second of the year on a great feed from Cameron Arquette. That's on the power play. We're 1-1 after 2. And then the third period is where all the action would come. Look at this wrist shot from Luca Romano, just like that. The Kitchener Rangers are up 2-1, but Tyler Challenger right in front of the net here. Look at this one-timer out of the corner. Tyler Challenger ties it up 30 seconds later, but it was all Rangers after that. Jack Pridham, look at this give-and-go play. Pridham to Reed, back to Pridham. He gets the third goal for the Rangers. That's on the power play at the 12:49 mark, and then it was the Tanner Lamb show. He got 2 to end the game last Friday. He gets 2 to end the game this Friday. First up right here from Stark and Ellis, and then exactly 3 minutes later, he would tuck in an empty net goal to make the final 5-2 for the Kitchener Rangers at home on Friday night. The following night, the Rangers would head to the Bayshore up in Owen Sound, and they would lose at the hands of the Attack by a score of 5-2 for their first loss of the season. 4 power play goals for the Attack, so penalty troubles for the Rangers on Saturday. But let's go to my 3 stars of the weekend. My third star is the man who is just back on Friday, Cameron Reed. He had 2 assists on Friday night. Both of his assists were on goals that took the lead for the Rangers, including the eventual game-winning goal. The second star of the weekend is Jack Pridham. Jack Pridham had 2 goals, including the game-winning goal on Friday, that beautiful give-and-go that you saw. And consider that Cameron Reed and Jack Pridham hadn't even practiced this week and come up with a beautiful play like that. And the first star of the weekend is number 13, Hayden Ellis. 2 goals and an assist. He got the first star on Friday night as well, and he is my first star of the weekend. Let's take a look at the updated standings. First in the Midwest Division, we'll show you that Owen Sound is actually in first place, but if you look right at the bottom, you'll catch our friends, the London Knights, who are still winless. And then let's look at the conference standings, and I'll advise you to once again look right at the bottom, and you'll find the London Knights, who have had third period leads 3 times but are currently winless so far. The Rangers up near the top of the standings. All right, I want to tell you about Friday for our friend Cameron Reed. He was on a flight from Nashville Friday morning after finding out Thursday night he was returning. He said, I want to play in the game. He gets off the plane at 1:15. He's picked up by assistant coach Jeff Krzakis. In the car, on the drive back to Kitchener, he finds out he's about to be named captain of this team. And then less than 4 hours later in a press release, Cameron Reed was named, yes, the 60th captain in Kitchener Rangers history. What a day for Cameron Reed. He shows up at the odd, gets the C on his jersey, and check out the rest of his leadership team. Luke Ellenis, Luca Romano, Carson Campbell, and Jakob Chromiak are the A's. Jack Pridham wearing an A right now because Carson Campbell is injured. We got the opportunity to see Cameron Reed with that C on his jersey right after warm-up, and man, did it look good. Look at the smile on that face for the 60th captain in history. And one of the dangers of taking photos like this is you have to deal with the peanut gallery, and look at what happened right after this. Alexander Bilecki coming up behind, sees me taking the picture of Cameron Reed, and decides, well, this is not just Cameron Reed's moment. This is my moment because I'm Alexander Bilecki and I want to be in this photo. So much fun down there with the Kitchener Rangers. Listen, we had the opportunity to be the very first ones to talk to Cameron Reed about what this means to him. So we're going to show you that interview with Cameron Reed from Friday night. Welcome back to Hefner Kitchener Rangers Hockey on Rogers TV. We are tied 1-1 at the end of 2 periods of play. The second period brought to you by the letter C. That's right, the letter C on the chest of the 60th captain in Kitchener Rangers history. I'm standing beside Cameron Reed, 60th captain. How does that sound?
Yeah, it's unbelievable, really. It's something you dream of as a kid, like playing your first game here, and this being my 3rd year. It's really unbelievable to have the city, the boys in the locker room, the staff, everyone just behind my back, and it's awesome. It's an awesome feeling.
It's a great day for you here, Cam. What have you learned from other captains? What did you learn, even in your time in Kitchener, that you'll bring to this role?
Yeah, I mean, patience. I mean, I remember when I was a young kid, patience was the thing they had to be with me, and I think just being a role model, not just on the ice, but off the ice too, just being a good character, I think that was the biggest thing for the guys I learned from.
You've been a leader on teams before. So how is it going to be different at this level?
I just got to be myself, really. I mean, I'm not going to change anything I do just because I have the letter C on my jersey. So I really just got to be myself. I like to think that's why I got it, and just don't really change anything up. It doesn't change anything. You just be the same character you were.
You just got back from Nashville Predators camp today. How was that experience overall?
Oh, it was awesome. I mean, you get to learn from all the NHL stars, and especially there's a lot of older guys with a lot of experience on that team. So it was just awesome just to be around them and to watch them practice as well. It was pretty amazing.
It was decided you were coming back last night. You flew back today. At 1 o'clock this afternoon, you were on a plane still, and at 5 o'clock, you were named the captain. That's a pretty quick turnaround. How did you find out?
Yeah, I mean, I landed around 1 o'clock, maybe 1:15, and Crackers, our assistant coach, drove me back, and I got a call from UC just telling me the good news. So I was pretty pumped about that, and I got to play as well, so I'm not going to turn that down.
You got off the plane without knowing you were about to be named captain 4 hours later. That's pretty unbelievable. How are you going to remember today down the road?
I mean, it's just an awesome experience. You get to play another game in the OHL. It doesn't happen every day for the rest of your life, so I just gotta have fun with it, especially in a time like this for my first game as captain.
You and I have talked many times in your years here. One of the things you keep saying to me is that pressure is a privilege, and now this team has pressure. UC Ahokas told me when I asked him what the expectation was this year, he said one word, and he said championship. Do you find that pressure at all, or is this just business as usual?
Oh, it's business as usual, but business is also involved in a little bit of pressure. So, like you said, pressure, it's a privilege. So we like to think that in the locker room, just to take advantage of it. Because not every day you get that pressure like this. It's quite fun, and it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing.
Well, I said pressure is a privilege, but I was quoting you. You've been saying it to me since you've been here. Listen, the first time, you remember the day we met?
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
We sat up in the concourse. I interviewed you at development camp. After talking to you for 5 minutes, I turned to our producer, Adam Quiring, and I said, that young man is going to be captain of this team one day. And today's that day. Couldn't be happier for you. Congratulations.
Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it.
We'll be back with more. 60th captain in Rangers history. What a day. You're watching Rogers TV. Here in our Rogers TV studios in Kitchener, I am joined by the general manager of the Kitchener Rangers, Mike McKenzie. Mike, as always, thanks for taking time to chat with us.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so we're early in the season, and the first question I want to ask you is just a handful of games in. How happy are you with the makeup of the team right now as the general manager?
I would say pretty happy. I think it's a good group. I think we've got depth at all positions, from our goaltending right out to our decor into our forward group. So I think on paper, we've got a lot of good players. We've got a lot of returning players that understand the league and understand what it takes. And overall, we've got a lot of depth in every position, which is what you want on paper. So I think we're quite happy with it. We would obviously love to have guys that are injured back at some point. They're going to add another layer to that depth with guys like Ellis and Vermeulen and Campbell coming back in the next month or so. But overall, I think we've kind of weathered that storm pretty well, and we're happy with the group.
I think you put it best, because I think what stands out to me the most on the makeup of this team is that depth. And you mentioned the depth at goaltending, and I think we're early in the season, but with the preseason and the first few games, that goaltending tandem of Christian Kirsch and Jason Schabel is exceptionally strong. So how happy are you with what you've got between the pipes right now?
Yeah, both guys have showed well so far. It's very early, but we knew Jason was a good young goalie. We saw that last year with the way he played as a 16-year-old. We usually don't even like bringing 16-year-olds in to our league. We think it's better they play somewhere else, but he just showed so well at spring camp and again at training camp that we felt he had the mental makeup and the physical attributes to do it, and he did, and he did well for us in more of a sheltered role, with obviously Jackson doing what he did last year. So he looks like he's taking the next step. Obviously had a really good first weekend, winning goalie of the week honors and being a big part of those 2 wins for us. So, but he's still 17, and there's a lot of runway there for him to grow and develop, and it's not going to be perfect. With young goalies, there's going to be bumps in the road. We understand that. but there's a really bright future for him. And Christian's newer, but he's an NHL drafted goalie. He's got the size, he's got the athleticism. He kind of checks all those boxes of a guy that could be a top end goalie in our league, but we also understand that it's going to take a little bit of time for him to get adjusted to a new league, new city, new team, new goalie coach, all these things. It's a really delicate position. So it takes a little bit of time for guys to get settled and feel comfortable, but the early returns so far on him have been quite good, and we see him continuing to get better each and every week in practice as well.
Some people think, the armchair critics will say that there's a goaltender situation when you've got two strong goaltenders and who plays A and who plays B, and do you have a defined starter and backup? And I think it's always great to have two quality goaltenders challenge each other the way that these two will this season. Absolutely.
You need two good ones because the one can't play 68 games. So over the course of the season, you probably want your starter, if he's a high-end starter, if you look at a guy like Parsons last year that's head and shoulders the starting goalie, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's probably playing 50 games, and once you start getting above 50, you're playing a little bit with fire. You can get into the low 50s and still be okay, but you want to make sure that you're not burning guys out. So, if a starter plays 15 games, there's 18 more games that someone else has to play, and it doesn't sound like a big deal, but when you break it down, that's, my math is not good, but I can do that one. It's 36 points on the table that are going to be there for the backup goalie or the secondary guy to try to get the team. So it's really important to have a good option going in, especially if you feel like you're a contending team, to have a guy going in and someone you're comfortable with all 68 games that we think can do a really good job for us.
I remember, I'll just put this out there, the last time the Rangers won the Memorial Cup, it was when that goaltender played a lesser workload and was very, very fresh throughout the playoffs. So we'll see what happens with our goaltenders this year, but I like what you're doing with them so far. You had some pretty significant offseason decisions to make coming into this season, and some of those maybe were made easier by learning that Christian Humphreys would return and Jakub Kromiak would return, and then you heard that Jack Pridham wanted to come back here to Kitchener. So how much did that make your offseason a little less stressful?
Yeah, it's never completely stress-free, I can tell you that, but it definitely made things easier. Those were three guys that were a big part of our team last year, and we wanted them back. They all offer a different element to our team that helped us win a lot of games last year, and we feel that, coming into this year, they're going to be even older and better and more mature. So, Cromie's a guy that's just a really steadying influence on our D. He's kind of our unsung hero back there. He doesn't get a lot of praise or fanfare, but he's just solid every game. And he's a great guy off the ice too, in the dressing room, helping the younger guys out. So, and then Christian and Jack up front are guys that can produce and put points up and be good on the power play. So they obviously have big impacts on games.
How much did the change of the import rule to be able to have a third import player affect your makeup of this year's team?
It was really important, actually, because it impacted a couple of things we did. Bringing Cromie back was, the way we looked at it was essentially we're keeping a top four defenseman for free, adding that third import. So it would have been a lot more difficult to kind of navigate if we were looking at it and saying we only had 2 slots, but once we knew there was 3 slots, it was a no-brainer to bring Cromie back. And then we wanted to address our goaltending, so it allowed us to do both of those and keep a top 4 defenseman in Cromie, and also address our goaltending to bring in another guy to play with Jason, and that's Kirsch. So, and then obviously it allowed us to pick a high-end guy in Hemming, who hasn't gotten to play yet, obviously, but yeah, it definitely changed things, and it kind of changed the outlook of kind of what we were able to do in all 3 positions, really, because we've added a goaltender, we kept Jakub on the back end, and now we've added a forward as well.
Any update on the Oscar Hemming situation, or still a work in progress?
Still a work in progress. We just don't know what's going to happen, and a lot of it's out of our hands, unfortunately, and it's definitely a frustrating situation for everyone involved. There's no doubt about that.
For everything that kind of, I don't want to say falls into your lap, but maybe falls into your lap in the way that third overager rule or third import rule did, There's always the math of the overagers, and I know you ran into it last year with Antonino Pugliese, and this year, I think maybe to prevent that situation, you made an earlier decision with Cameron Mercer and Chris Grisolia. Tell me about that.
Yeah, definitely not easy choices. Both guys were really, key members of our team last year, really popular guys in the dressing room. Cam specifically had been here for his whole career, and he'd been a good soldier for us, and Grizz in a short time, not 3/4 of a season only, but again a good soldier for us. So really popular guys in the room, great kids. So never easy to make those decisions, but that's my job. And at the end of the day, the OA situation is you only get 3. We knew we wanted Cromie back as one. We knew Prids was going to come back at some point during the summer. That was 2, and then. It's always nice to have a little bit of flexibility there with having, one open slot to kind of play around with. And typically overage players are the cheapest to acquire via trade just because there's a limited market for them. And, not everyone needs them or wants them. It's very situational. So it's nice to have that flexibility. It's a little different this year because the league in general lost a lot of 05 born players that would have been very good OAs. So it's a little bit less in terms of talent on the OA front throughout the league just because of the rule change. But it's nice to have the flexibility going into a year like this.
I've heard some proposals or a movement out there to change the overage rules where a goaltender wouldn't count and you could potentially have a 4th overager if that overager was a goaltender. How do you feel about that, and do you think that's a viable possibility in the future?
It's something that's been bantered about for years now. I personally think it's a no-brainer. It should have been done years and years ago. We're not producing enough goaltenders in Ontario and Canada. If you just look at the guys that are coming through, and we need to do a better job of that, in my opinion. And I think one of the ways we jam ourselves is by not providing enough runway with some of these kids. Like I mentioned earlier, it's very hard for a 16-year-old to play in our league, and if they do, they're going to play very, very limited minutes in role. It's very hard for a 17-year-old goalie to play in our league, and if they do, they're going to play probably limited minutes in role unless they're special. At 18, they're starting to get, into the mix at that point, but there's still not that many starting goalies at 18, especially on contending teams. And then 19 is when you see what happens with the goalie development, and now they're kind of where they need to be. They're starting goalies in our league. And then after their 19-year-old year, it's, the crunch comes and some of them get squeezed out and they don't have spots and they don't have room and they end up moving down a level or going somewhere else. So there's just very limited time where a goalie can develop and be the starting goalie and play a lot of games and get those reps. And it's a position where you need confidence and you need to feel good. And the best development always happens when you're feeling good and you're confident and you're in a good position, as we saw with Jackson last year. He flourished when he was a 20-year-old, but that was actually probably his 19-year-old season. If you because he missed the COVID year. He missed the shoulder surgery year, so he missed 2 full years. So how good could he have been if he had another year? Exactly.
It's crazy to think.
Exactly. So maybe last year, maybe we would have seen that Jackson Parsons at 19 had he had that runway, and then at 20 again, and he would have had 2 full years of being a starting goalie and an elite starting goalie, and then he can move on to pro, and you see he signed an NHL contract.
Yeah.
But if he had an average 19-year-old year and gets squeezed out, then he doesn't get a chance to have that OA year and sign a contract and move up to pro hockey now. So I think it's a no-brainer personally.
I think you're bang on. I think there's that fork in the road that you could be a Marcus Vandenberg career or a Jackson Parsons career, right? And I think it's exactly what you were saying there. You mentioned the open overage slot. You've got an open overage slot. What are your plans to do with it, if you know at all?
Just hold tight right now. There's just too many unknowns. We've got the Memorial Cup bid thing in the background. No teams are trading good OAs a month into the season.
Yeah.
It's just not how it works. So we're content with just keeping 2 right now and seeing kind of what happens in the next couple months.
It's October. We're not really talking about the deadline, but When do you make your decision on what you're going to do for the deadline? Is it how the team is sitting at a certain date, or how do you approach that?
It's a couple things. One is, where we sit at a certain date. Obviously, if you're in 7th or 8th place, you're probably not adding, unless you're us a few years ago. That was different. Yeah. But if you're in 1st or 2nd place, then you're probably looking to improve your team. So that plays a role. And then the market plays a role too. And there's other situational stuff, especially with us this year with the Memorial Cup bid. We're in a bit of a unique circumstance. Typically teams are building towards a Memorial Cup year, and it's like they're not quite there yet the year before, and they can move some stuff around. We'll see how our team does in the first half of the season, but I think our team's pretty good, and I think once we get cooking and get rolling, we'll have a chance to contend. So that's going to be the golden question, is how we navigate trying to do something this year, and also hopefully if our Memorial Cup bid's successful, how do we have enough in the holster in the chambers for next year. So that'll be my job to figure out, along with the rest of our management staff. But we're already working on stuff like that and getting a read on the situation. But a lot of that will sort itself out too with the market and the cost of players and what's available and what's not available. It's very easy to just label yourself and try to do something, but we're never going to try to fit a square peg into a round hole, and we're always going to act under the assumption that we want to improve our team, but only at certain costs. We won't cross a line if it doesn't make sense for the future as well. Yeah,
sustainability. You and I have talked about that for years. Now, when you talk about that, about the fact that the team may be a contender this year, you've talked about the UC has talked about championship is the goal, and that maybe hosting the Memorial Cup. If both of those things come together, if the team's competitive and you're successful in the Memorial Cup bid, do those decisions that you make become different because you're maybe considering them for 2 seasons instead of just 1?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, we'll see. We got a lot of work to do because we have not played like a Memorial Cup or championship team through the first 4 games. Yeah. I think everyone that has watched the games can tell you that. So we got a ways to go, and we got a lot of work to do to get to that point. So we'll just take it week by week, and that stuff can get sorted out later. Obviously, the Memorial Cup stuff will come in a month or so, or a month and a half from now, and that there will be that'll be kind of concrete at that point. So we'll have a real better understanding in not too short of a time on that situation, and then we'll just roll with this year, kind of see what happens.
One of the things that was really exciting to start the season was the media tour of the new facilities, and I thought that was great. And you and I talked about it on the day, but we have some video here of the wall when you walk in. When you walk in the players' room, there's these 6 historic moments as the players walk in, and they're on the right. Now, I understand this was part of your idea to put these up on the wall. Tell me why and how you decided these moments.
Yeah, so we wanted to do something where that's a high traffic area too for people that haven't been in our dressing room, but that's a place the players walk from their dry stall or the lounge into the actual dressing room area numerous times a day. So they're seeing that hall and they're using that hall a lot. We wanted to put something in there that was a constant reminder of kind of the legacy of our past, not only recently, but in the past, even when I wasn't around, or some of those are older moments. But the first 3 are really obvious ones. Those are the championships, and we want to win a championship, and we think it's important that our players see that that's been done here, and that's the standard of what we want to do. And then there's some other more recent ones that are very big moments that have happened in the last 5-6 years, big goals, big playoff series wins. But ultimately, we want to replace those ones with another championship one at some point. So it's a good reminder for our players of the success that people here have had before them and what we're striving to get to at some point as well.
I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great motivation. I got goosebumps the first time I saw it. I've been doing a series of alumni interviews this week via Zoom, and some of the guys that are on that wall, they've seen it, and it means a lot to them. I talked to Reed Valad, and he said, I'm on that wall twice. My team was up there. He goes, I used to come in this room and I used to read the things on the wall and use that as fuel for me. To know that our team is fuel for the future generations means everything to those players.
Yeah, and that's what the Kitchen Rangers are all about, in a nutshell, is that you come here, and the Rangers were here a long time before I got here or any of these players got here, and they're going to be here a long time and be successful whenever I leave and whenever all these players graduate and leave too. So it's about coming in and doing a good job and doing your best and trying to cement more moments and more legacy and historic moments while you're here, and ultimately paying homage to the past and respecting the past, but also forging the future and creating your own moments and leaving it in a better place than when you got it. And
I know that you say that a lot, and your former players always say it to me. We always try to leave it in a better place than when we got there. So what you're doing is working, so well done. Great work. Thanks for taking the time. I love the motivation, and hopefully you can add some new memories on that wall sooner than later.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Sean.
Time for 10 questions with Sean. I'm here with Andrew Vermeulen. Andrew, go ahead and cut the deck. You're going to read the top 10 questions off the top. All right, the deck has been cut. Here we go. Question number 1. How many chicken nuggets can you eat in one sitting?
Probably 25 chicken nuggets, I'd say.
Country music or rap music?
Right now, I'd say country music. It kind of flip-flops here and there.
You get to pick a movie for a team movie night. What movie are you picking?
Probably Happy Gilmore.
Who is the best athlete on the planet?
Connor McDavid.
Who is the messiest guy on the team?
Messiest guy? Probably Arky.
Question number 6. What is your favorite movie?
Favorite movie is Talladega Nights.
Question number 7. Which one of my suits is your favorite?
I like your light blue one last year.
Which teammate has the best musical taste?
Which team or which teammate?
Which teammate?
Lammer.
Which teammate is the best cook?
I don't know, probably me.
And question number 10. What is your favorite goal you've ever scored?
Favorite goal was Game 1 last year against Flint in the playoffs.
Special thanks to Mike McKenzie for coming in for This Week in Rangers Nation. I want to let you know that the next few episodes are going to be very alumni heavy. I'm thrilled to bring you some alumni interviews with names like Rally Damiani, Matt Sopp, Hunter Brustevich, Simon Motu, Mike Petizian, Donovan Sabrango, Reed Vlad, Arbor Jackeye, Cam Mercer, and Antonino Pugliese. The next 2 episodes are going to be entirely alumni for you. Tonight is Stick Around, Kitchener Rangers against the Owen Sound Attack coming up right after this. Thanks to Mark and Alana at Luxappeal for always keeping the lettuce tight. We'll see you next week on This Week in Rangers Nation.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
The human brain. It can still leave us completely mystified. Do you see something?
Hidden cameras are all over the place.
She's experiencing Truman Show syndrome. The patient has no control over his own arm.
It says here he's non-speaking.
Non-speaking is just a symptom of something bigger. Question is what?
I know you're not a real doctor.
You're right. I just play one on TV.
After a night out with your friends, not having a plan for a safe ride home can leave you in a bad spot. You could end up riding in a police car, an ambulance, or a hearse. These unplanned modes of transportation can be a costly choice and do not take you home. Your plan could include a designated driver, a taxi, or public transit. Drink responsibly.